Revealed. The incredible truth behind my life-changing marriage at 18 to a 60-year-old farmer. In the heart of Iowa, where the cornfields stretch endlessly under the wide sky, my story began. Emma, a girl on the brink of womanhood, felt trapped in her small rural town. The annual county fair rang with laughter and the scent of sweet cotton candy filled the air, igniting a flame of nostalgia and dreams. I craved a life beyond the tight grip of poverty that clung to my family like the summer sun. College felt like a distant star. All the while neighbors whispered stories that stung dreams crushed under the weight of expectation. One hot afternoon, as I helped my mother with chores, I stumbled upon a crumpled flyer, "Help wanted at Harold's farm." My heart raced. Harold was a kind-hearted 60-year-old widower with gentle eyes and tales of adventures that soared through my imagination. I felt drawn to his warmth like a moth to a flame. Without much thought, I accepted his offer to help with the harvest, and that decision would change everything. Days turned into weeks and summer melted into fall. Together we toiled under the vast sky, harvesting crops and sharing stories. With every laugh, every honest conversation, our friendship blossomed. I found comfort in the cadence of nature, the rhythm of life at the farm. Harold's laughter became my favorite sound, a soothing balm against the harsh whispers of my world. But each sweet moment was shadowed by the judgment of those around us. What would they think? I'd hear my friends murmur, their voices thick with disapproval about our age difference. Their words wrapped around me like chains binding my heart. Then disaster struck. The drought swept through the fields like a thief in the night, parching the earth and threatening Harold's precious farm. I felt the weight of every prayer that had gone unanswered, as each droplet of hope slipped through my fingers. I was caught between my loyalty to Harold and my dreams. Could I abandon him when he needed me most? On the edge of that decision, I found myself in the flickering light of Harold's old farmhouse kitchen, laying bare my heart. "What do you truly want, Emma?" he asked, his eyes shimmering with understanding and care. That question hung suspended in the air, a spider's web tense with potential. Did I dare chase my dreams, leaving him to face life alone? Just then the familiar sound of our truck's engine echoed outside, slicing through the heavy silence. My parents had come, their arrival quickening my pulse. The murmurs would soon explode into confrontation. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As I stood frozen in that kitchen, uncertainty coursing through my veins, my heart raced. What if they condemned us? What if their fears became my reality? As the door creaked open, I took a deep breath. Was I ready to face a world that might tear us apart? Would love stand strong against the storm? The questions echoed in my heart like a drumbeat, driving me toward a choice that could change everything. As the door opened, I caught a glimpse of my parents, faces etched with anxiety and concern. They hadn't come for a casual visit. The strained silence filled the room, wrapping around us like a fog that refused to lift. Mama's eyes darted to Harold, then back to me, her mouth a thin line of worry. Dad rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous habit I had seen too many times. "Emma, we need to talk," Mom said, her voice trembling slightly. There was an edge to her tone, a blend of urgency and fear. It sliced through my hesitation and sent a chill down my spine. "Can't it wait?" I asked, glancing at Harold, who stood silent but present. I could sense his support even in his stillness. "No, it can't," Dad interjected, his voice booming inside the small kitchen. "We heard about the drought and we know things have been tough." With every word my heart sunk, pulled deeper into a whirlpool of emotions. They didn't understand. They'd never understand what Harold meant to me, how he had become my anchor in a storm of uncertainty. Mom's gaze softened momentarily as she placed a hand on my shoulder. "We just want what's best for you," she said gently. "You're still so young, Emma. This isn't the future we envisioned for you." As if her words were a match struck against dry tinder, anger flickered to life within me. What if my future isn't what you pictured? I shot back, my voice trembling with frustration. What if it's something entirely different? Emma, Dad's voice thundered. You're being unrealistic. You can't seriously think your life will be better here with him. The word him hung in the air, heavy and damning, and I felt my resolve waver for just a second. Harold shifted his weight, stepping closer to me as if to shield me from the storm brewing in my parents' eyes. I care about Emma more than you know, he said, his voice calm yet firm. And I've always tried to support her dreams, not crush them. My heart soared at his words. Here stood a man who believed in me, even when the world painted me as foolish. Mom's brow furrowed as she exchanged a glance with Dad. You don't know what you're doing, she insisted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. You're still a child. This is all too much for you. Maybe it has to be. Maybe I have to decide for myself. Each word felt like a declaration of independence, a small rebellion that resonated deep within my soul. The realization swept over me like a rush of warm sunshine breaking through clouds. I had a choice, one that defined my path. It was a choice not between Harold and my family but between safety and the unknown, between chasing a dream and settling for someone else's vision. But that clash of emotions left a knot in my stomach. What would happen if I chose this path? My parents wouldn't just walk away. They would fight hard. I'm not asking for your approval. I want you to understand. I took a step forward, my heart pounding as I let every ounce of vulnerability pour into my words. In that moment, hope flickered gently alongside the certainty of conflict. My words hung heavy in the air, shattering the silence like glass. Emma, Harold began, his eyes intent on mine, but before he could finish I interrupted, overwhelmed by the urgency building inside me. What if being here is my dream? What if love is worth the fight? In that instant the room fell still. Would they see my determination? Would they recognize my heart, full and fierce? The question clung to the air, setting the stage for everything that would come next. The silence screamed softly, pregnant with possibilities. Would love withstand the weight of disagreement? The answer lay just beyond my reach, like a shadow dancing in the corner of my vision. But as I prepared to speak again, ready to forge a path of my own making, I realized I wasn't just fighting for me. I was fighting for Harold too, our future hanging precariously between us. What would my choice mean for both of us? I stepped forward, ready to embrace the unknown. The tension in the kitchen thickened like the heavy summer air before a storm. I felt every heartbeat pulse louder than the last, a wild drum echoing in my ears as I stepped into the unknown. I could see my father's jaw clench, his brow furrowed in disbelief. My mother, usually so nurturing, brimming with warmth, now appeared small, trapped behind a wall of worry. Emma, Dad said, his voice softer now yet still stern. This isn't just about you. You're making a choice that affects everyone. Your mother and I know. I interrupted, exasperation bubbling to the surface. But it's my life. I can't keep living by your rules. I need to figure out who I am, whom I want to be with. Harold's hand brushed against the small of my back, a gentle yet firm reminder that he was here, standing with me. I glanced at him, the warmth in his eyes steadying my racing heart. In this moment he was more than just my boyfriend. He was an unwavering pillar in a teetering world. Mom took a shaky breath and wiped the corner of her eye. Honey, life ain't an easy path, especially not here. It may look okay from the outside, but this land is hard, unforgiving. You deserve more than what we've been dealt. I swallowed hard. But what if I want to make that hard life work? What if I love him enough to endure it? Support can only go so far, Dad said, his voice thick with a mixture of pain and frustration. You're not the only one who struggles. We've sacrificed everything for you. You think we want to see you struggle too? An ache unfurled inside my chest. I wanted to scream, to shout that love didn't always fit in a neat box. The love I felt for Harold wasn't something they could measure against the weight of their expectations or years of sacrifice. What about what you want? I asked, voice cracking as I gestured to the space between us, where dreams and fears collided. Do I have to sacrifice my happiness to keep you at ease? It's not about that, Emma, Mom said quickly, her hands wringing in her lap. I fear you will get hurt, that he may not be what you need. Then let me decide. If I fall, I'll get back up. Promise. The words tumbled out, filled with a resolute fire. I hated that I could see their pain wrapped up in concern, but I also had to believe in this future, in Harold. Sometimes love ain't enough, Dad said, the weight of years coloring his tone. What about responsibility? In that split second I remembered the mornings in the fields, my laughter mingling with the rustling wind, the sun painting the earth gold as Harold taught me the ropes of farming. I remembered how he made me feel alive. What if this is my responsibility? I challenged, my voice steadying. What if supporting him is my dream too? The fight isn't always about winning, it's about being with the one you love, no matter the cost. The room fluctuated with silence, each breath an echo amplified by my parents' doubt. Mom looked at me, a flicker of something vulnerable crossing her face. What do you want, Emma? The question hung heavy, and I knew the answer. I want to choose me. I want to choose Harold. The air danced between us, uncertainty mixing with hope. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. The chasm had widened, and I was standing on the precipice. What would they do next? Would they continue to fight to pull me back under their vision, or would they begin to see the light I found in this love? As that question settled under the weight of my declaration, I realized my fight was just beginning, not just against my parents, but the world beyond. With Harold by my side, could we brave the storm together? Just then the silence broke. We need to think, Dad finally said, voice trembling. That was a start, but what would they really decide? As I looked at them, the door was left ajar, and I could only hope they would step through. Would this moment of understanding turn into acceptance, or would it lead to a more decisive confrontation? The next few days crawled by, heavy with uncertainty. I could feel the weight of my parents' disappointment in the air, hanging like smoke, a constant reminder of the fracture between us. Despite their cautious response, I sensed a flicker of acceptance, a small shift that left me feeling both relieved and anxious. Harold stood firm by my side through the whirlwind. Each time I looked into his eyes, the world around us melted away. We would talk late into the night, our voices barely above whispers as we unveiled our hopes and fears. I'd share snippets of my childhood memories running through fields, laughing until my stomach hurt while he painted a picture of a future filled with sunrises and crops flourished under our care. Those dreams grew like wildflowers in my heart, vibrant and full of life. But slowly the reality of our situation seeped in. Questions swirled, intertwining around my thoughts like the tendrils of climbing vines. What if my parents never really understood? Would I have to choose between a love I felt so deeply and the family who had always supported me? One evening as we strolled through the farmland, the sun dipping low in the sky, casting long shadows, I turned to Harold with an unease buzzing in my chest. What if they don't accept us? What if I lose them for this? His grip tightened around my hand, his warmth grounding me. Emma, love is easy. It's messy and complicated, but it's also worth it. We're in this together no matter what. The truth of his words resonated deeply within me. In that moment, I felt a surge of determination. I would fight for our love, but I also needed a plan for my relationship with my parents. Perhaps putting distance between my heart and their expectations might help ease the tension. The weekend brought around a family gathering. Everything felt heightened, as if the air itself buzzed with the potential for confrontation. I could tell my parents had been preparing for it, their glances towards each other filled with unspoken worries. As relatives poured into our home, laughter echoed across the walls, drowning out the anxiety that clung to me. I could almost believe things were normal. Then as dinner began, Dad cleared his throat, a signal that he was ready to broach the subject. Emma, he began. We've been thinking about your future. The room quieted, all eyes turning towards me. I could feel my heart thudding against my ribs, the moment I had been dreading and hoping for colliding. Your mother and I don't agree with everything you've decided, but we want you to know. What if I'm happy? The words tumbled out of my mouth without hesitation. What if I leave for a while to figure out what I want? I need time to breathe, to explore this love without the pressure hanging over us. The room grew colder, tension tightening around us. I could see disbelief in some faces, curiosity in others. Mom squeezed Dad's hand, her eyes wide as she began to process my words. My pulse quickened. I had crossed a line. But would it create a gulf too wide to bridge? Or an opportunity for understanding? As I looked around, I felt the heat of judgment and confused emotions. Would my parents support me, or would they push me away? The silence stretched long, thick as the air before a summer storm, leaving me suspended between my family and the life I longed to embrace. Suddenly, A voice broke through the tension, my cousin S. What if we all took a trip together? Maybe allowing time for reflection would help you, Emma. Everyone paused, eyes darting from one person to the next. For a brief moment I thought maybe this could work. Maybe they deepened. But as I met my parents' gaze, I realized that my journey was just beginning, and the toughest decision still loomed ahead. Would I emerge from the storm stronger, or would I be swept away entirely? The tension in the room thickened after my cousin's suggestion, hanging like a heavy mist. Conversations faded into whispers, faces etched with confusion and uncertainty. I could see my parents exchanging glances, a silent conversation passing between them. Would they really consider a trip together? Or was it just a way to delay the inevitable? Emma, Mom finally spoke, her voice soft yet firm. We just don't know if it's that simple. We love you, but this is a lot. Each word struck me like a dart, sharp and targeted. I wanted to scream that I loved them too, that I wanted them to be okay with everything. But more than that, I needed their support for the choices I was trying to make. Maybe it isn't simple, I replied, feeling a mix of anger and desperation rise within me. But I can't live my life based on your expectations. I need to take this step with or without you. Gasps fluttered through the room. I could see faces lighten with surprise and some mirrored concern. I glanced at Harold, who stood a few feet away, his expression a mixture of pride and worry. He loved me, yes, but he couldn't understand the weight of a family's love when faced with such a monumental choice. Silence settled back in, and for a moment I thought we might spiral into disconnect once more. But then, something unexpected happened. Aunt Betty, my mother's sister, spoke up. A trip could be just what you need, Emma. It might help you sort through what you really want, and it might help them see things from your perspective. Might? My father's voice was low, skeptical. Look, Aunt Betty continued, her eyes softening, things can change. You can grow together as a family. Perhaps this will be a stepping stone toward understanding. My heart swelled with a tinge of hope. Could my family really consider this? Could they come to see my love for Harold not as a betrayal but as a part of who I was becoming? Dad shifted in his seat, rubbing his forehead. If we're going to do this, we need to set some ground rules. This isn't just a vacation, Emma. It's about reconciling. It needs to be productive. Of course, I nodded, excitement bubbling beneath the surface. Perhaps this trip could be our bridge, a way to bring clarity amidst confusion. Then how about we leave this weekend? Aunt Betty suggested, glancing at her husband, who nodded in agreement. My heart raced at the thought of getting away, of being together, just us. Away from the judgments of our everyday lives. A week in a cabin somewhere quiet could give me the space to breathe, and a chance to help my parents see Harold as a person rather than just a choice. Well, my mom prompted, her eyes scanning the room. What do you think, everyone? The murmurs that followed were a blend of worry and cautious optimism. Slowly, hands lifted, a quiet agreement. As I looked around, I felt a flicker of what could be. However, beneath the excitement bubbled the truth of my fear. What if this trip didn't help? What if it made things worse? Okay, I said, forcing a smile through my anxiety. Let us do it. Let us go. As the final details were decided, Harold and I exchanged a look filled with both hope and doubt. The air thrummed with the promise of change, yet I could feel the shadows of unresolved questions lurking just beyond the light. Would this trip tighten the bonds of family or unravel them for good? Just as I thought things might settle, my father stood up abruptly. One more thing, he said, his voice final. I need to speak to you, Emma, alone. I froze. What was coming now? Hadn't we just started to make progress? As I followed him outside, the cool evening air rushed past, carrying whispers of unanswered questions. Would my heart be ready for what he had to say? The door clicked shut behind us and I shivered, feeling the chill of the night wrap around me like a thick blanket. My dad stood there, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, staring at the ground like it held all the answers. I wanted to read his mind, to understand what caused that tension in his shoulders and the crease in his brow. Emma, he began, lifting his gaze. There was something in his eyes. Was it sadness? Fear? I felt my chest tighten. Before we head out on this trip, I need you to understand how serious this is. I nodded, holding my breath. This was it. I could sense the weight of his words before he even spoke them. I've been thinking. You're making a choice that, well, it affects all of us. Harold is older, Emma. People are going to judge you. They're going to ask questions. His concern flooded over me, but beneath it was something deeper, a fear that I would be hurt by the outside world. Dad, I know that. But love doesn't care about age. It's real, and Harold treats me well, better than anyone else has ever done. Love is supposed to be more than that, he countered. It's about security and stability, intentions. You're so young, Emma. You have your whole life ahead of you. You make it sound like I'm being reckless. I shot back, my voice sharper than intended. Isn't every decision a little reckless? Isn't life about taking chances? Deep lines etched into his forehead deepened, and I could see the conflict swirling in his eyes. This will affect your future, your place in this family. I just need you to think about that. I absorbed his words. Anger wrestled with the undeniable truth that my father cared. But I had been thinking more than anyone realized. I had weighed the pros and cons like some kind of emotional math. What I felt for Harold wasn't just a whim. It was a quiet belief that something beautiful could come out of this chaos. Dad, I promise I've thought this through, I replied, softer now. I want us to grow together, not apart. I want you to see me, to accept who I am becoming. His lips pressed together, and for a moment, he looked as if he was about to break. You know I want what's best for you. I know, I said. What if what's best for me is to be with Harold? A long pause stretched between us, filled with unspoken emotions. I could hear the crickets chirping, their songs echoing through the night, almost mocking the silence that lay heavy on my heart. I need you to promise me one thing, he finally said, his voice softer now. If you go through with this, stay true to yourself. Don't change who you are for anyone. Not for him, not for us. Not for anyone. I promise, I whispered, my heart swelling with gratitude. Maybe this was the breakthrough I needed. Maybe, just maybe, we could start seeing each other. As we made our way back indoors, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this trip really could be a bridge toward understanding. But as we walked into the dim light of the living room, a shadow of doubt loomed in my mind. Would my father's acceptance truly change anything? And just when I thought I could breathe again, Aunt Betty piped up. Oh, did you guys hear about the storm warning? The weather's going to be nasty this weekend. My stomach sank. A storm? Would it bring chaos or perhaps the clarity we needed? What awaited us beneath those stormy skies? The next morning, the air buzzed with a tense anticipation. The storm clouds hung low, an ominous blanket covering the sun. I could feel it in my bones, the electric charge just waiting to unleash. Breakfast was muted, little more than the scraping of forks against plates and the soft murmurs of Aunt Betty's chatter as she prepared for the trip. I caught glimpses of my dad out of the corner of my eye, his brow still furrowed, lost in thought. I tore at my toast, thoughts swirling like the wind outside. Was I making the right decision? I was determined to prove I was capable of navigating my life, my choices. But doubt gnawed at me. What if Harold wasn't as stable as I believed? What if my dad was right? Emma, Aunt Betty called, breaking through my fog. Can you help me load the car? I nodded, grateful for the distraction. As I stepped outside, a gust of wind brushed against my skin, sending a shiver down my spine. The air was thick with moisture, and I could smell the rain coming. With each box I lifted, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. I wanted this trip to be an escape, a chance to breathe away from judgment. But would the storm shift things in more ways than one? Just as I was about to reach for another box, I felt a hand on my shoulder. My dad. Are you okay? His voice was gentle, but I could detect the underlying tension. Yeah, just thinking, I replied, forcing a smile. About Harold? I paused, considering. Kind of. I feel like this is a turning point for me, a chance to show everyone I'm not just a girl in a rush. This is real. He exhaled, looking up at the sky. You're right. I just want you to be safe. Sometimes the storm is more than just weather. His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I'll be okay, Dad. I hoped the assurance would reach him. Promise. But as we drove through the countryside, the tension rose. The flat field stretched endlessly, darkened by the looming clouds that matched the turmoil brewing inside me. Aunt Betty chattered aimlessly in the front seat, but my focus was drawn deeper. They wouldn't understand. How could they? With each passing mile, my heart pounded louder, like thunder rumbling against the horizon. Suddenly, a strange thought crossed my mind. What if a storm wasn't just a tempest of wind and rain, but an uprising of emotions? Would I find clarity or chaos standing in the eye of it? Now and then my dad's eyes flicked toward me, a silent question hanging unspoken between us. I wished he'd voice it, wishing we could unravel this tension together. I could feel the bond between us, like the thin strands of a web stretched tight, ready to snap when we finally arrived at the small secluded cabin. The first drops of rain began to fall slowly at first, then in a rush as if the heavens opened wide. With every raindrop, the world outside transformed, colors blurring and merging, nature capturing the rawness of my emotions. Standing on the porch, I felt the full force of the storm begin to swirl. What awaited us inside? Could it be the warmth of understanding or the coldness of division? Before I could decide, the door flew open. Harold stood there, a silhouette against the chaos behind him, eyes bright with something I couldn't yet read. "Emma," he called, his voice cutting through the noise of the storm. I took a deep breath, my heart racing. With Harold here, everything felt different. But would it bring me the comfort I sought, or plunge me deeper into uncertainty? The storm's fury echoed my own inner tempest, and I wasn't sure which way it would blow. As I stepped into the cabin, a thought struck me: what truths would be revealed under this stormy sky? The moment I crossed the threshold into the cabin, it was as if I stepped into another world. The warm air contrasted fiercely with the cold rain pelting down outside. Harold's eager smile welcomed me, yet it sent a cascade of questions through my mind. What was he thinking? Did he feel the weight of this storm too? "Emma," he said, stepping forward, his hands outstretched. "I'm so glad you made it. I was worried." His eyes searched mine, and for a brief moment, the chaos outside faded. "I wouldn't miss it," I replied, though uncertainty flickered in my gut. My heart quivered like leaves in the wind, questioning my decision to come here. Was I brave or just reckless? Harold pulled me into a warm embrace, and I could feel the world shifting. It wasn't just the intensity of the storm outside, it was the way this moment tugged at my heart, challenging the indecision whirling within me. I caught a glimpse of my dad peering in from behind, concern etched on his face. "Glad you're here, kid," he murmured, quickly stepping inside and shutting the door against the raging elements. "Thought you might change your mind." "No way," I shot back, forcing what I hoped was a reassuring smile. Inside my chest, anxiety bubbled like storm clouds threatening to release their downpour. Aunt Betty buzzed around, preparing the space, unfazed by the brewing tension. "Why don't you two catch up?" she suggested, her tone light as she pulled out supplies to make dinner. She busied herself in the kitchen while Harold led me to the living room, a cozy space dotted with mismatched furniture and framed photographs. "What's it like out there?" Harold asked, his voice low, leaning against the wall, a slight smile breaking through my cloud of uncertainty. "Pretty wild. Feels like everything's swirling," I replied, clenching my fists slightly, fighting off the urge to think too deeply about my dad's warning. Would I find clarity in this storm? Or would Harold be just another blade of grass swept away by the winds? "Yeah, just like us," he said softly, his expression suddenly serious. "I never wanted you to feel pressured into anything. I just wanted you to see what's really here." His words hung heavy in the air. What did he mean by what's really here? Suddenly, the cabin felt smaller, as if the walls were closing in with the weight of unspoken truths. Outside, the rain drummed louder, a rhythm that mirrored my heart. I glanced outside, the world outside now shrouded in cascades of water. Did I have the courage to face the storms within? As I turned back, Harold studied me, his gaze intense but soft. "Emma, there's something I need to tell you." My breath caught. A hush fell over the space, the kind that makes you wonder if everything is about to change. What would he reveal? Was it a truth that could shake the very foundation of the life I was trying to build? The room felt charged, like a jolt before lightning struck. "Whatever you need to say, I'm here," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I'm not the only one who has secrets." As he spoke, a crack of thunder rumbled outside, as if nature itself held its breath. What could possibly come next? The storm was an afterthought to the tempest brewing between us, and I had no idea how it would all end. Harold's words lingered in the thick air, heavy with anticipation. I could feel the thunder rumbling still, but it echoed less from the sky and more within the walls of my heart. What secrets could he possibly hold? Anxiety wrestled with curiosity as I shifted my weight. "Emma," he started, rubbing the back of his neck, his gaze breaking away from mine. It's complicated. I stepped closer, trying to bridge the distance. Complicated how? His eyes darted to the window, watching the rain cascading down like a curtain. I won't lie to you. I've been carrying something for a while. And maybe it's time you know. I felt the pull of urgency and need to know to understand the depth of his hesitation. Just tell me, Harold. He took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts, then met my gaze once more. You know how I came into your life, right? The organization, the way I was brought here? Yeah, you mentioned something about volunteering, I replied, recalling how his arrival had shifted everything for me, my family life, my own sense of purpose. There's more to it, he continued, drawing closer, his voice barely above the gentle crackling of the fireplace. I was working with the group that aimed to reconnect families struggling with their pasts, and I was one of them. His confession hung there, a fragile thread that was pulling us both deeper into a reckoning neither of us anticipated. You? But why? I was lost, Emma. After losing my family, I thought if I could help others heal, maybe I'd find my way back too. But I never expected to find you to care about you this much. His words rushed out, finding their own pace. I felt the walls of the cabin breathe as I processed his revelation. So you were sent here to help, but it became personal? More than personal, he confessed, a hint of desperation in his voice. I was supposed to stay detached. But I wanted to be close to you. Each moment I spent with you, I realized I was being drawn in, deeper than I should have let it go. This isn't a simple relationship, Emma. It's complicated, and if you knew everything, you might not want to be a part of it. The storm outside matched the turmoil inside me. What do you mean? There's a history, I can't deny things I've done that might change the way you see me. I was meant to guide people like you, not fall for them. A swell of emotion hit me, the waves of his past crashing into the shores of my present. My mind raced between understanding and doubt. You care for me, but you didn't think I had a right to know? I care, but I didn't know how to explain, he replied. And I didn't want to hurt you. But honesty, it's what you deserve. I thought of my father's warning, the weight of his concern. I felt the gravity of Harold's secrets looming over us. I'll help you figure this out, I offered, not sure where my bravery was coming from. Then, Aunt Betty's cheerful voice broke through the tension, calling from the kitchen. Dinner's ready. Come help me, you two. The spell was shattered. I looked at Harold. His eyes were searching, and I knew this moment was only the beginning of many more revelations to come. But as we turned toward the kitchen, the feeling of something pivotal hanging in the air remained. Would I still want to stand by him when the full truth emerged? What was lurking in the shadows beyond those stormy secrets? As we helped Aunt Betty prepare dinner, I couldn't shake the feeling that the biggest storms were still ahead. The storm raged outside, echoing the turbulence in my heart as we sat at the old wooden table, the air thick with the tantalizing aroma of Aunt Betty's famous casserole. Laughter floated around the room, but it felt distant, muffled under layers of unspoken truths. I stole a glance at Harold, who sat across from me, tension roiling beneath his calm demeanor. Would he still feel this connection when the clouds of his past rolled in full force? As dinner progressed, the conversation danced around mundane topic, stories from Aunt Betty's youth, debates over farm techniques and family gossip. Yet, beneath the surface, a silent battle brewed. My mind kept circling back to Harold's admission. He was more than just a kind-hearted farmer. He was someone grappling with his own turmoil while trying to help others. And now I found myself swept up in a love tinged with uncertainty. When dinner came to a close, I could feel it, the moment hung heavy, pulsing with anticipation. The storm outside had shifted to a steady rhythmic downpour, a soothing backdrop to the noise in our hearts. Can we talk? I asked, my voice breaking the comfortable hum of family. Heads turned, surprised. Harold's gaze locked with mine. And I knew we would need to confront this. Together we stepped out onto the porch, the cool air hitting us like a burst of clarity. Lightning flickered above, illuminating the sky for the briefest of moments. About what you shared earlier, I started, my heart racing. You said you were lost. But I'm here now. I want to help you find your way. He turned, the vulnerability in his eyes making the fierce winds outside feel minuscule. Emma, I don't want to drag you into my past. You have a chance, a bright future ahead of you. You don't need my shadows haunting your dreams. But I want to stand with you under the storm, Harold, I said, My voice clear as the rain poured down. We're already in this together. Love isn't just the joyful moments. It's the struggles too. I'm not afraid of your past. I'm afraid of losing you. You don't understand the burden, he whispered, stepping closer, his warmth permeating the chill. There are things I've done that could tear us apart. Then let us face those things together. I'm not turning away. I reached for his hand, feeling a rush flood over me, a fire of determination kindled in the darkness of uncertainty. A surge of emotion crossed Harold's face as he squeezed my hand in return. Are you sure? Because this path isn't easy. It may get messy. I'm ready, I affirmed. You've shown me the beauty that can stem from hardship. Together we can transform the mess into something meaningful. He hesitated, glancing back at the cabin where laughter still erupted. You don't know what it's like out there, people will judge us. I know, I replied softly, but I refused to allow fear to cage my heart. Love is worth the fight. We'll face whatever judgment comes our way, but we can't do it divided. The thunder rolled in the distance, a powerful reminder of nature's unpredictability. It drew us together in that moist electric air, solidifying the bond we were on the brink of forging. Just then Aunt Betty's voice called from inside, turning to hear her warmth once more. Redemption is possible, you know. We've all had our struggles. Her words resonated like a beacon of hope in the shadows of uncertainty. The weight of judgment from my own parents lingered in my thoughts, but perhaps it was possible to show them this love I felt, to let them see the redemption beneath the surface. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning cracked through the sky, illuminating Harold's face. What if we extend this trip, Emma? What if we reveal our truths and pave a way toward understanding all of us? My heart raced at the idea. Yes, if we lay our cards on the table, maybe they LLC. With every ounce of determination, I nodded. Let us take the storm head on. Hand in hand, we stepped into the cabin, ready to embrace the chaos and clarity that awaited us. My heart thudded, mixing hope and apprehension, but it felt right. We would create our path, a path of warmth and understanding, filled with the promise of brighter tomorrows as we gathered the family together. The storm raged beautifully outside, echoing the vibrant shift of emotions within me. It wasn't just about Harold's past anymore. It was about us, our connection, and the power of love that could weather any tempest. Family, I called, my voice steady, eyes flicking from Aunt Betty to my parents. We need to talk about love and choices, and I hope you'll listen. The storm continued its relentless dance outside, but as I looked upon Harold, his steadfast presence ignited my spirit. This was the moment of transformation for all of us, a moment for love, understanding, and reclamation. In that sacred space, I realized we were not bound by fear anymore. With our hearts open wide, we could weather any storm together. And as the rain poured down, I knew one thing for certain. I wouldn't back down. Love would lead the way, and together we would find our future. Now, as this journey comes to its epic conclusion, I'm asking you, my friends, subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions about this transformative ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible journey. Only true fans like you understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Your love matters.